Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Big Four podcast. Luke is MIA tonight. He's a man of a lot of mystery. We don't know where he is. So just Mike and I will start. Oh, actually, Alex isn't here either. So we get half the podcast here. We'll start with Michigan State and Michigan. Talk about the team respectively. We're going to talk about the game last night. Michigan pounding Michigan State in Ann Arbor. A lot of question marks for Michigan State, including why Marcus Bingham only played 9 minutes after the type of game he had against Michigan last time they played. But Mike, what do you have to say?
Well, I kind of had a suspicion something like this was going to happen. I mean, Michigan State coming off of wins this year, bad. Michigan needed it more, but give credit to them. They played a good game, out-coached, outplayed, better players. Found a way to just make every whatever. They found a way to win, dominated. Not surprising, but I don't even care about. I'm done with the season. I don't care. I don't care if MSU wins out. Doesn't mean anything to me. The trajectory of this basketball program is as clear as crystal. It's going down. It's been steadily declining for years, and it's still on its way down, and it's unacceptable. And it starts at the top, and it starts with the head coach. And it's time to move on. There's no doubt in my mind it's time to move on. I've compiled 10 reasons why Tom Izzo should retire or be fired. And I'm sure we all know he's not going to be fired. So, Tom, I hope you're listening to this. Take these 10 reasons and go to Florida or Arizona and get the hell out of my life. How about that? Let's start with number one. Refusal to adapt to the modern sport of basketball. Now, this one might be the biggest one. I mean, the offense that Michigan State runs is a joke. It's a complete joke. It starts with maybe like a curl or a pin down or a high, I don't even know, whatever you want to call it. And then what is it afterwards? Then everybody looks around and then praise the point guard can do something. There's no creativity at all. No creativity. And then defensively, I haven't talked about the defensive scheme. The defensive scheme is usually pretty good. But guess what? Tom never switches it up. Never, ever, ever. It's the same defense every game. People know how to attack it. If they have the ability to attack it, they will. And they understand that no adjustments will be made. So it's as simple as that. All right, reason number two. Refusal to inject new blood into the program. Dane Fife, who is a good assistant for Michigan State, goes back to his alma mater, Indiana, help out Mike Woodson. And what does Tom Izzo do? Does he go outside the program, maybe try to get a young guy in? Kind of like what Beilein did with the guy he got from where did he get him? Yaklich. Get because listen, Beilein was going through something similar. Listen, the program was declining, and he switched his philosophy, and it worked. So what did Tom do? He goes and hires a coach who was an assistant for him like 12 years ago. He was the head coach at Northern Illinois and was fired. Montgomery. I mean, give me a break. Seriously. This is D'Antonio all over again, man. All right. Reason number three. Reoccurring problems. How long have turnovers been a problem for Michigan State? 8 years? I mean, it's been a long time. And listen, I understand with the tempo they play with, they're going to turn the ball over more. But they're in the bottom two in the Big Ten every year. And they're not the only team playing up tempo, so that's unacceptable. And you know what, Mel Tucker is a great quote. I mean, if you're not coaching it, then you're letting it happen. If you're letting it happen, you're not coaching it. Same sort of thing. You're letting turnovers happen because you're not coaching them. It's as simple as that. All right. In-game coaching, number 4. The in-game coaching of Tom Izzo is terrible. It's never been great. But my God, this year, the last couple of years, it's been a complete and utter joke. Rotations, oh my goodness. Last year, we had like 10 different starting 5 combinations. This year, the rotations have been just awful. I mean, what happened to shortening the bench? Usually, late February, early March, 7, 8 guys. No, he's still playing everybody. And the rotations don't make any sense. He's got 2 centers. Okay, fine. But after watching one of them just get absolutely destroyed, you don't put the other one in. And then when you do put him in, when you put Marcus Bingham in the game, he makes one mistake and then you yank him. I mean, it's ridiculous. You got Max Christie out there who's got an unlimited leash. He can do anything he wants and he won't be taken off the floor. And you got Marcus Bingham, who if he takes a step in the wrong direction, he's going to be automatically yanked. No crap, he's not confident. He's not playing well. He's afraid. He's afraid he's going to be taken off the court. Nobody should be coached that way. This is not 1985. Give me a break. Okay, where are we? I mean, yes, game management's been bad too. He doesn't know when to call a timeout. Teams go on big runs and he never calls a timeout. I don't understand. He thinks timeouts are like God's green earth or something. He thinks it's like the greatest thing of all time. He doesn't even dare to use the timeout. Timeouts they're not even useful. It's not like you can advance the ball with a timeout. And oh wow, late in the game, let's go ahead and drop a useless fucking play. Guess what? You can't drop plays either, you bum. All right. Now to the more the hard product. Recruiting. Recruiting has been going downhill for many years now. And I think it's really starting to take shape in the last couple of classes that Michigan State has gotten here. Let's start with the strategy. Tom Izzo's recruiting strategy is antiquated, it is old, and it is outdated. What does he do? He goes out and he recruits 3 or 4 guys. Doesn't even think of backup plans. It's like, okay, I'm going to go after 3 or 4 guys. If I don't get them, I'm screwed. And guess what? He's not been getting them lately. It's as simple as that. A couple of guys. You can't lose the kid to Virginia. I'm sorry. I don't care if they win a national championship. Michigan State's got more NIL money. They got more everything than Virginia. You can't be losing guys to Virginia. Losing Ty Rodgers to Illinois. I mean, come on. Listen, Illinois is a good program. I would want to play for Illinois. Illinois you should not be recruiting on the same level or worse than Illinois. Same with Purdue. You've got more substance in Purdue. You can say, oh, look what we've done. Purdue, okay. What have they done in the tournament in the last 12 years? Nothing. You should be recruiting better than Purdue is. And it's just not happening. Look at this latest class. Okay, a solid project guard from Minnesota and Jackson Kohler from Utah, who's a 6'9" center, power forward. I mean, seriously. Too many project guys. Way too many project guys. This is a program that should be getting guys who are ready to play, ready to make immediate impacts, like Max Christie, who is one of the only guys he's been able to get. And Max has been a somewhat disappointment this year, which is, it's hard to really blame him because he's got nothing around him either, but it doesn't matter. So, and listen, he's not been getting the big guys either. When was the last center that Michigan State had that you feared? Xavier Tillman? It's been nothing after that. And I mean, and they've never, when's the last time they had a physically imposing guy? If you want to count, do you want to count Nick Ward at 6'9"? You want to count Jaren Jackson? I mean, he played the 4 because Izzo was an idiot. He didn't play with the 5. But I mean, you can't with the style they play. You have to have a big guy, and I mean, it's not good enough. All right, reason 6, increased competition. This is with reason 5, increased competition in the Midwest. Did I mention Tom doesn't like to go outside the Midwest when he's recruiting? He has this rule. It's like 100-mile radius rule or something like that. He wants to get guys in that radius. Well, when competition increases to get those guys and your program starts to go down a little bit, it's going to be harder. Michigan State should be able to recruit nationally, especially in the sport of basketball. I mean, basketball, all it takes is 1 or 2 guys. I mean, seriously, there's no point in sticking in the Midwest. This is not 1990. Kids are not staying in their states as much anymore. The world is a smaller place. You can go out to Florida. You can go down to Georgia, California. I mean, it seems like the only guys they've been getting from those states, from non-Midwest states, are kids with a connection. And that's it. Nothing else. Kids who have played in Michigan or have had family connections. All right. This one comes as no surprise. Player development has been atrocious. The 2018 class we've talked about. But, I mean, the 2019 class, has it been looking great either? Malik Hall? Come on. Malik Hall should be better than this by now. He should be what Aaron Henry was last year. If that's what the standard is, which it should be. If you're going to be a program that goes out and gets these project kids like Michigan State does, you better be able to develop them. And it's not happening there. Give me a break with freaking Sissoko. I mean, Sissoko is ranked around the same ranking as Hunter Dickinson. Sissoko doesn't play. Hunter Dickinson's averaging 19 a game, which I understand the rankings were not always accurate, but still, I mean, that's another project kid. All right. Well, Luke entered the waiting room. Okay. All right. Where are we? Reason number.
Let's call it one sec. Let's just Luke. So we're still on the first topic here of Michigan State. Mike is listing off 10 reasons why Tom Izzo should retire. So that's where you are right now, Luke.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
on reason number 8 now. Reason number 8, refusal to adapt to his players. Michigan State runs the same system every year, and it doesn't matter what the players are. It's a simple system. It's defend, rebound, and run. Well, guess what? If you can't rebound, you can't run. The team can defend a little bit, but it seems like once in a while, like yesterday.
It's almost like it's worked for 20 years, Mike.
Well, guess what? That mindset there is the reason why he is going downhill.
He's won an NCAA championship.
I don't
He's been
care.
to 8 Final Fours, including
I don't
one in
care. If you
2019.
if
So
you
it
don't
was a
adapt-
recent one. He's won 10 Big Ten regular season titles.
don't
He's
care.
won 6 Big Ten tournaments.
I don't care.
It's almost like this
He's
system
made
works.
one Sweet 16 since 2015. I don't give a shit. This is a steady decline. This is not a 1 year Michigan State doesn't do well. It's more than 1 year.
I mean, they were pretty bad last year.
Oh yeah, they were bad, and Tom Izzo was one of the main reasons why they were bad. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
But before last year, they won 3 straight Big Ten regular season titles, going 22 and
I
9,
really don't
32 and 7, and 30 and 5.
I don't care. I don't care. Cassius Winston, that's why. There's no other way to put it, because it wasn't Tom. Tom doesn't do anything on the sidelines. Tom says, okay, Cassius, score the basketball, and that's what he does. I mean, it's as simple as that. But you have to adapt to your players. And I don't care. The mindset of, oh, okay, we've done this for 20 years. It's got to work. That's not how it works. That's not how Nick Saban thinks about it. That's not how the great coaches in sports think about it. You've got to adapt and evolve. If you don't adapt and evolve, the game will pass you by. And the game has passed them by. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind the game has passed them by in a lot of different facets. here's a great example. Michigan State takes the most long twos of any team I've ever seen. The long two is by far the least efficient shot in the sport of basketball, but Michigan State refuses to not shoot them. I mean, Max Christie. Oh my God. I've never seen a player take more long twos. And you know what Michigan State's the king of? Pump faking a semi-open three for a contested long two. I mean, nobody's better at it than Michigan State. This starts with, Joey Hauser. Give me a break. He refuses to shoot. And you know why? It's because Tom Izzo has instilled into his players that if they take bad shots, they're going to be taken off the floor. So now players are afraid to take shots. And the double standard of some players, being able to take bad shots, and some players that aren't able to, that's a culture problem, but that's probably reason 11. All right, reason number 9. Refusal to use the transfer portal. I'm sorry, you can't have 3 open scholarship spots. You can't have 3 open scholarship spots, especially when the center position has been a complete and utter joke the past 2 years. I mean, you come into the
You know who's
season.
available on the transfer portal, Mike?
Who?
Joey Brunk.
Guess what? Joey Brunk would be starting on this team right now. I have no doubt about it. Joey Brunk would be the best center on this team. Listen, you cannot rely on Marcus Bingham. Listen, Marcus Bingham had a really good November. But, I mean, there's always been effort issues. There's always been, he's never been able to get up to the certain weight he's needed to be at. And people are saying, oh, that's an effort, work ethic issue, whatever. Julius Marble barely played last year. Sissoko barely played, almost killed Ayo Dosunmu when he punched him in the face. I mean, come on. This is Michigan State. The center is not – this isn't freaking Iowa. All right, we're a center. Well, they had the greatest center maybe in Big Ten history last year, but that's not a position of need at a place like Iowa. At Michigan State, you need a big time center because the offense gets bogged down. So you need to be able to throw it into the post once in a while. And
that's who Matty Sissoko was supposed to be.
Yeah, well, he might be playing at freaking Northern Illinois next year. We'll see. Yeah. And guess what? Apparently the story was that assistants had to beg Tom Izzo to even take Tyson Walker. You saw how bad the point guard position was last year. He had to beg. The assistants had to beg him just to get Tyson Walker out of the transfer portal. So, I mean, if he's so obsessed with culture that he won't use the transfer portal, then the game's going to pass him by. Because guess what? Guys are going to transfer out, and if you don't get guys to replace them from the portal, then you're going to be screwed, and you're going to be like where you were last year. 3 open scholarship spots. I mean, come on. That's malpractice. That's malcoaching. You can't do that. In a third, what is it? What do you have, 13, 14 scholarships? To leave 3 of them open? Are you kidding me? Could you imagine if Richard Barron did that? Said, oh, you know what? I don't need these guys. I don't need 3 extra scholarship spots because my culture is going to be ruined by some transfer. I mean, seriously.
Yeah, I'm sure there would be a lot of outcry if Maine did that.
I'd be outraged.
Well, apparently people were outraged because he was fired.
Yeah, well, he was building something.
Oh, yeah.
What's
All right,
reason number 10?
Reason number 10 is the Big Ten has gotten tougher. The Big Ten has gotten a lot tougher over the years. I remember.
Yeah, but isn't that doesn't it come and go, Mike?
Well, I mean, I would say yes, but I don't think the Big Ten's ever been any stronger than it is now. And that's from
Right,
a coaching
and then
perspective.
in 2, 3, 4 years, it's gonna be like a few years ago when it was very weak.
Yeah, remember when there were 4 teams that made the tournament a few years ago?
Yes.
2018.
Yes. But look at the level of coaching in the Big Ten now. And look at the programs that are good now. I mean, Illinois hasn't been good since 2010.
No, we'll see for how long Brad Underwood's there.
When Izzo was in his prime, Michigan had sanctions and won 10 games a year. Ohio State had sanctions.
Yeah, but Illinois was a powerhouse in the mid 2000s.
Yes,
late
they were.
2000s.
Yes, from like 2000 to well, actually, they had what's his name? The old Oklahoma coach. What was his name? They had Kruger, and then Kruger went to Bill Self, and then Bruce Weber, and then it kind of fell off after that. And now he's being brought back. Purdue's always been steady. Indiana is always up and down. Wisconsin's always been really good, but besides that, every other program has never really done much. But now you got teams like, I mean, even Iowa's a consistent tournament team at this point.
Yeah, but right now you have more teams up than can consistently stay up.
I don't know.
Illinois is pretty much as high as probably they've ever been.
Do you think Rutgers is ever going to become a laughing stock ever again under Steve Peichel?
I think this is the highest Rutgers has ever been. And I don't know if they can get much higher.
I don't think they can go much higher, but they're not going to be the worst team in the league consistently ever again.
Right, but what I'm saying is there's no way Rutgers, Iowa, Illinois all stay high at the same time for the continuous future.
Yes, but I think Illinois' got staying power because Brad Underwood's recruiting very well. Iowa will always. What?
He's going to leave.
Yeah, for Kansas State, I think. I wouldn't be shocked at that, but
he's going to leave for North Carolina after Hubert Davis gets fired after next year.
But Illinois, I think, has got staying power. Rutgers, I don't think they'll ever be the worst team in the league. I mean, there's still a lot of question marks. Like Minnesota's a question mark, Penn State's a question mark. But overall, the league has gotten tougher, and Michigan State has gotten worse. I mean, I know Tom has never been great at winning the regular season. Yes, he's won 10 of them, but there was a stretch where he didn't win a lot of them. But I mean, I've never seen a Michigan State team get embarrassed more than we have in the last 2 years. I mean, it's been really bad. Some of the losses that he's endured. And that's a player issue. That's a player development issue. That's a coaching issue. And yeah, that's it. That's all I have. How long did that take? Like 20 minutes. But congratulations to Michigan, and I will continue my what did I call it? A
boycott.
A political boycott. What did I call it?
I don't know. Like no strike.
Strike.
What the U.S. did for the Olympics?
Diplomatic boycott.
Diplomatic boycott. That's right. I will continue my diplomatic boycott of this team.
All right. So, Luke, the original question was to say anything about Michigan State and Michigan. You can talk about the game or about where you think they are in terms of the tournament.
Luke, I want to hear your 10 reasons why Tom Izzo should stay.
I don't have to give you 10. I'll give you 10 reasons why Tom Izzo should stay, and there's 10 Big Ten championships.
I don't care. It's not about what you've done. It's about what are you going to do for me in the future. And what have you done for me lately? And that's nothing.
Okay, obviously the game, not a great game for Michigan State. They seem to be slipping a little bit, but Michigan also seems to be building some momentum a little bit. So we'll see. Martelli's obviously 10 times better coach than Muhammad Ali. Is that his name? Is that your coach's name, Chris? Sonny Liston. I don't.
He's a boxer.
Yes.
Yeah.
But they should both make the tournament at this point. I think this year's kind of been a weird year. I think next year will be the real year to tell with both programs. I think if Michigan State stays down and continues to get worse, then I think Mike has some real points. And the third year of Juwan Howard.
I have no patience for next year.
The third year of Juwan Howard will be a big year. So that's pretty much all I got.
Yeah, I mean, Michigan State, I thought after that Purdue win, they were going to start building some momentum as they have.
Yeah, that was
time,
just it's just a dumb take. Really dumb take.
as they've done so many times. But they got embarrassed last night. They're a fraud. They'll probably be out in the first weekend. But anyways, Michigan.
It'll be an 8-9 seed. Probably lose to the 1 seed they'll play, or lose to the 9 seed that they'll play in the first round.
I think Michigan has put themselves in a position to make the tournament here. I believe they need to win one more game that includes the Big Ten tournament, barring any sort of collection of teams that have bid steals. Whether they win against Iowa, Ohio State, or whoever they play in the first game of the Big Ten tournament, I think that'll do. They get to 17 wins, I think they'll be fine. That win last night was huge. I had a lot of doubt about what they could do this week after the Michigan State Purdue game, but that was an impressive win last night. Although, as Tom Izzo said, Michigan played well, Michigan State didn't, but you have to tip your cap that Terrence Williams has made 6 threes in Big Ten play, and he made 3 last night. And Devontae Jones shoots 17% from 3 in the Big Ten play, and he made a 3 as well.
Man, that's what happens when MSU plays Michigan in Ann Arbor. They make every shot, but that doesn't excuse the way. It doesn't excuse the coaching, the lack of energy. I mean, for Mel Tucker to be in that building and you to come out with no energy is just a complete joke. We should disband our basketball program.
One thing I was surprised with, I continue to be surprised, but not really surprised, but taken aback by, is Michigan State's refusal to double Hunter Dickinson. Michigan only shot.
Well, apparently, did you see?
Yeah,
they
tried.
apparently was trying,
Yeah.
but they wouldn't listen to him.
They wouldn't.
Yeah,
do
bullshit.
But
If that's actually what happened, he should be fired. Because if you lose your players, you should be fired.
I did see on a couple that Tyson Walker would try and go double, but he was just late. They were late a lot on doubles. Michigan only shot.
Guess what? You don't double the post when Bingham's on him. You double it. You can't not double the post because Julius Marble's like 6'5", trying to guard 7-foot Hunter Dickinson. Of course he's gonna have no chance. I mean, it was a ridiculous strategy to even, if you're gonna play Marble more minutes than Bingham and not double. I mean, that's a retarded strategy.
I don't understand why Bingham didn't play more. But yeah, I mean, Michigan only shot 12.
Because he's in the doghouse.
Michigan
A
only
doghouse
shot,
that's specifically made for him. Because if he makes one mistake, he's coming out of the game. But Max Christie can play 35 minutes and get lost on defense and put up terrible shots and not come off the floor. And people wonder why Bingham's pissed all the time, not in the game. Guess what? Maybe he makes one mistake, he comes out, a ton of pressure on him. So I mean, it's ridiculous coaching strategy, and for him not to play, for our blocks leader in the history of Michigan State, the guy's played 5 minutes a game his career. He's got the blocks record for Michigan State history, and we play him 9 minutes against Hunter Dickinson. It's unfreaking believable.
yeah, I agree with that. But I mean, Michigan is a terrible 3-point shooting team. You only have them shoot 12 threes. They were saying that the dribble penetration was a big thing for Michigan State to try and stop. They didn't do that. Dickinson scored literally every time he got the ball. It was really a poor effort on defense. Poor game plan and poor execution by the players. So really, Michigan State.
The players shouldn't be playing at a Big Ten level. Half the guys.
But yeah, Michigan, I'd like to see them beat Iowa. I think if they beat Iowa tomorrow, they're going to clinch their tournament spot.
The Jet Pry has Michigan as 5-point favorites against
I don't
Iowa.
like Iowa, but we did beat them 2 weeks ago, so that might make it a little tougher.
The Jet Pry has Ohio State 3-point favorites against Michigan.
Mike, did you see this report that the Big Ten might be getting even tougher?
Why is that?
Because apparently Maryland's pursuing Rick Pitino.
Good. That's who I said they should hire.
Well, that's who Michigan State should go after. They should fire
that'd be great.
Pitino.
That'd be great.
I don't know if there are enough strippers in East Lansing for his liking though.
We built something.
One thing we need to talk about here are the fading Ohio State Buckeyes, who after I will even admit, a very impressive win over Illinois last week, have now lost to two of the worst teams in the league and one of the worst teams in all of the power conferences in Nebraska
Well,
home.
well, Chris, Nebraska jumped 29 spots in the Jet Pri after their win against Ohio State. So
Oh, okay. So I definitely want to hear what Luke has to say about the fading Ohio State Buckeyes and Chris Holtman once again fading at the end of the year.
Well, first of all, there's no excuse for it. There's no excuse for it whatsoever. But we have been hampered by injuries, and we've been playing a game every 2 days because our principal team and make up our games that got canceled because of COVID. That's all I gotta say.
yeah,
And it
this
also doesn't
Nebraska
help.
team, is not 9-21. They're not 9-21 bad.
They actually are.
This is a good basketball team. This is a 500 level basketball team, and
It also doesn't help that once again, we freaking let up 26 points to Bryce McGowan. This is the classic Holtman thing. He's letting up a shit ton of points to a bad team's guard, and then having CJ Wilcher score 15 points in the first half. Like, that's a classic Holtman. He's for some reason can't find. You brought in Wheeler because he's supposed to be the best defensive guard in the Big Ten and one of the best ones in the country, and somehow you let Bryce McGowan score 26 points. I don't understand it.
listen, this Ohio State didn't play horrible, I didn't think. But in Nebraska, I think Nebraska just played a great game. And listen, Ohio's still no excuse for Ohio State to lose the game. But listen, this Nebraska team, I don't think anybody wants to see. And Wisconsin is very lucky that they won that game against Purdue, because the last thing they want is a hot Nebraska team coming into the Kohl Center. And then Wisconsin bye Big Ten championship.
I was saying at the end of this year that our strength was our depth, and our depth has been absolutely decimated. I mean, we had Jimmy Sotos had to play 23 minutes this game. Like that it's just EJ Liddell had to play 39 minutes, and he was coming off the flu. So we were not at full strength.
Luke, you just lost to Nebraska at home.
Yeah, because we weren't at full strength.
It's an embarrassing loss.
Jimmy
it's an
Sotos
embarrassing loss. You have here's the deal. Ohio State had a chance to win the Big Ten. They had 5 losses, and they had Maryland, Nebraska, and the 2 Michigan teams at home, and they blew it.
And injuries bit us in the leg.
They lost to Nebraska at home.
And injuries.
Listen,
injuries
Nebraska went.
fight us.
Nebraska
That's
went.
what happens when you have to play a game every other day.
I just can't believe the excuses that you continue to make for Chris Holtman. He's been a failure, a complete failure.
He's won 20 games every year.
Yeah, and what has he done in the tournament? Nothing.
He's only been in 2 tournaments.
That's a problem.
And he's made it past the first round every time. And then, he had 1 bad loss in the tournament. He's been in 3 tournaments. He had 1 bad loss in the tournament.
Horrible loss last year.
But it happened.
They fade every year.
I'll tell you what, I'd trade for Chris Holtman any day.
I wouldn't.
Here's Chris. It happens to everybody at some point. But we lost to Oral Roberts. The year before that, there was no postseason. The year before that, we were the 11th seed, and we beat Houston. We beat no, it wasn't Houston. Who was it? We took Houston down the wire and lost. But we beat. Was it Iowa State? Yeah, we beat Iowa State we were the 11th seed, and we beat Iowa State. And the year before that, we were the 4th seed, won our first game against San Diego State or South Dakota State, and then lost to Gonzaga. So I don't know what you want out of him.
He's been a failure. It's Ohio State. You can't just go out in the second round every year. Like, that's not acceptable.
It was 2 tournaments. You have to give him some time.
No, well, they lost to
is the-
Oral Roberts last
I
year.
mean, it's not
Number two
acceptable.
seed.
Let's not act like the fans give a shit.
It's unacceptable. He should be
The
fired.
loss.
He should be on the hot
No, he
seat.
should not be. You want him fired because you're scared of him because you know these
I want-
recruiting classes.
no,
he's bringing
I'm
in.
not scared
He's
of him at
bringing in
all
the number
because-
2 recruiting class in the country next
I
year.
don't care. I mean, all those guys are going to learn to play well for the first 3 months and then fade in February and March.
Well, Chris, if Ohio State was the national championship and it was on the same day as the spring game, nobody would care about the national championship.
All right. Let's move on here. We have the Big Ten race.
He's won 20 games for 8 straight years. If
Doesn't
he does
matter.
it again this year.
Doesn't
it'll make
matter.
it 9.
The Big Ten race is over. Wisconsin has won the Big Ten. There's an off chance that Illinois could share it if Wisconsin somehow loses to Nebraska at home, but they won't because they're not Ohio State. So Wisconsin wins the Big Ten after I was laughed at multiple times for saying this could happen. What do you guys have to say?
Wisconsin is the Providence of the Big Ten. They're the luckiest team this year. They've pulled out wins out of their ass, and they're going to go into the tournament, and they're going to get upset probably in the second round.
Yeah, I think Wisconsin, they started the season incredibly lucky. I think they're a much better basketball team than they were even a month ago.
Which, funnily enough, actually, is that Providence beat Wisconsin earlier in the year.
That's right. But I have Wisconsin 17th in my ranking. I think they're a very good team. I think they've certainly gotten some breaks, and that bank 3 at the end of the game was a perfect encapsulation of Wisconsin's season.
I mean, how about only beating Nichols by 3 and beating Illinois State by 4
A win's a win. Everybody talks about
and beating Georgia Tech? by
No,
4?
it's not a win. Ask
Jeff
the net
Goodman talks about the same thing. Wisconsin, I have them as number 5 right now in terms of the tournament. They have a number 1 seed resume, but they're not in consideration because they don't beat teams by enough points. That's ridiculous.
Well, yeah.
It's
Did
ridiculous.
you see Arkansas beat Kentucky, and they moved up like 2 spots in the net rankings, and LSU beat like South Carolina by 30, and they jumped
Yeah,
up
it's
like 10.
ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, listen, we've been
LSU
talking about
loses
how
to every good team. LSU loses to every good team, and they destroy the bad teams, and that's why they're so high. It's
Well,
ridiculous.
we've been talking about how the net rankings have always skewed towards margin of victory. I talked about it last year with MSU.
Yeah, and it was
reason why-
ridiculous last year.
Reason why MSU is in the playing game was because of that reason. Because when we lose, we get blown out, and when we won, even though we beat top 5 teams, it was a 2 or 3 point win.
Yeah, I mean Wisconsin. I said it.
Wisconsin also has 4 guys who play over 30 minutes a game. It's just not sustainable.
Yeah,
They're going to
that's doable in the
choke in the
tournament.
tournament.
You only need like 6 or 7 guys.
Choke in the tournament.
You know, I said this from the beginning of Big Ten play that Wisconsin was a team to watch that could win the league. I did pick Purdue, but
I mean,
said
it was a dumb pick back then.
it was not a dumb pick because they won.
It was a dumb pick. The fact to even pick Purdue, first of all, picking Purdue was a dumb pick, and second of all, picking Wisconsin to be even in the conversation, the way they were playing, even though they've beaten some teams. I mean, you just looked at them, and Johnny Davis was not nearly as good as he was now until the first Purdue game.
I looked at them and I said they've done this before,
Yeah, well, I looked
and they
at
did it.
their
again.
roster and I see Ben Carlson and I want to puke.
People say their roster isn't that great, and I've been a believer in that all year. That Davis has carried them, and I think Johnny Davis is a great player. He'd be my pick for National Player of the Year. But Tyler Wall's a great player. Davison's a decent player. Chucky Hepburn's gotten a lot better. Granted, that was a lucky shot at the end of the game last night, but he's gotten a lot better. Greg Gard has got to be in the conversation for National Coach of the Year. What he's done
He's
with
my
his team.
pick. He's my pick for National Coach of the Year.
I'd probably have him second behind Cooley, but
No,
the job that he's done with his team is incredible.
because Wisconsin hasn't been quite as lucky. So
And Wisconsin, they will go the farthest of any Big Ten team in the NCAA tournament.
Oh my God, did you see this? Did you see that Duke has requested to be placed in the Midwest Regional?
Why?
Because that's where Coach K is from, Chicago.
Oh, give me a break.
Well, you know what's
What?
gonna piss me off for that is if Duke ends up not being a 1 seed and they're a 2 seed, they're still gonna put them in the Midwest. They're gonna move the whole bracket around just to make sure Duke's in the Midwest.
Ridiculous.
That means we'll be a
Too amusing.
7 and play Duke in the second round.
Yeah, Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse.
All right, let's move on. We got a couple other conferences that
We
have
talk
been.
about how Purdue absolutely choked this race.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead. If you want to talk more about the Big Ten, go ahead.
I don't care. I just, Purdue, we talk about how Ohio State's fading. Purdue is fading. Purdue, I've been saying all year. I mean, I didn't think they were going to be as bad as Wisconsin, in terms of power ratings wise, but
As
Man.
bad as Wisconsin. The team just won the league.
yeah, that's bad as Wisconsin as in, top 40, I thought Wisconsin was maybe a top 30, top 40 team. Now I have them 17th. But Purdue, I mean, my God. Purdue has all the talent in the world and they play no defense. And that's why they lost this
Yeah.
race.
They do play. That's their biggest problem. They are so bad on defense. What this Jaden Ivey just stands there, and someone just back cuts them every possession. It seems.
They should have beaten
Drive Matt
MSU
Painter
and they
crazy.
should have beaten Wisconsin.
Why?
That's
and
to
they
drive
lost.
Matt Painter has to be going crazy over the fact they can't defend.
Yeah.
No, that there are two words. There are two reasons why they can't play defense.
Jaden
Actually,
Ivey,
three,
Zach
three
Jaden Ivey.
reasons.
Jaden Ivey, and Zach Edey.
Three reasons. Zach Edey, Jaden Ivey, and Travion Williams. Three of the worst defensive players I've ever seen. Especially Zach Edey. Watching him play defense is it's kind of like watching unified basketball.
All right. A couple other conference races have been clinched. Providence has won the Big East for the first time in program history.
We don't talk about mid-major.
What do you guys
regular
have to
season
say
shit.
about? What do you guys have to say about that?
What's the fake Big East? And they didn't actually win it. I recognize Villanova since Villanova beat them the other night. That was for the conference championship.
Yeah, it's just kind of an Illinois situation, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because according to ESPN, they have the same number of games back, but Villanova's got the advantage in terms of head-to-head. So I'm gonna have to give it to Villanova.
Yeah. The Big East awards the conference champion to the team with the highest.
How
win
does
percentage.
Providence not have another game left?
Because of COVID, and they refused to make them up.
No, the Big East would not let them make up. It was not their fault.
What?
Yeah, because the Big East rules. It's a really complicated, but
How do they have no games this week? How do they have no games scheduled for the last week of the year?
essentially the teams they got postponed against Creighton, Seton Hall, and UConn are all playing on days that Providence could have played them or something like that. And the Big East restricts like having so many games in a week, multiple weeks in a row. The Big East has some very strict rules when it comes to scheduling.
I thought they changed all this after the first game when like DePaul had the forfeit or something like that.
No, well, they
Or
just
Seton Hall had the forfeit.
changed the forfeit thing.
It just
Yeah.
happens to be that the three teams they couldn't make up games against are all in the top 6 in the conference.
Yeah. So yeah, Providence. Ed Cooley's the national coach of the year. To win
No.
the league at Providence, be in the top 10 is maybe the most impressive thing I've ever seen as a college basketball fan. This is a bottom
You
5.
sell Providence way too low.
This is a bottom 5 job.
He's built Providence to be a respectable program.
You're gonna give him
Habit
some credit.
State.
You're
Do
gonna
you know
you're
how
gonna give him
bad?
credit.
Do you know how bad Wisconsin was before Tony Bennett's dad got there? Bad Wisconsin was. It was really bad.
Providence has been a laughing stock. They are a bottom 5
Are you
job.
kidding me? They have literally the greatest college basketball ambassador of all time as their former coach.
Okay.
They've got some great history. Don't tell
don't.
me Providence is Oregon State.
They
Give me a
are.
break.
It's a
No,
bottom
they aren't.
five. It's a bottom five job in the power conferences.
No, and
It
it's
is
not.
a-
Well, first of all, it's not a power conference.
It is a brutal job, and the job that Ed Cooley has done is
I don't
incredible.
know. The way the Big East is set up nowadays, it's probably the eighth, seventh, or eighth best job in the Big East. I mean, you're telling me Creighton's a better job.
Absolutely.
Creighton's a brutal job.
No, Creighton
Creighton
is
is
not
a brutal job. You're telling me Butler's a better job. Butler might be the worst job in
No.
if you're going to count Big East. They might be the worst job in the Power Six. Butler's a complete joke.
No, Butler is not.
Butler has no business being in a conference like the Big East.
Anyways, great season from Providence. Wisconsin and Providence are the two best close game teams in the country. It's just really impressive what Providence has done this year. And I know it infuriates everybody, but they are.
Murray State might be better in close games.
All right, I don't know.
How about Xavier about to choke away their tournament?
Yeah, Xavier.
Yeah, the model's not doing too well right now tonight.
As long as Xavier beats Georgetown this weekend, they'll be fine.
I don't know. You don't want to mess with Georgetown in March.
Yeah, if they lose to Georgetown, then they could be in trouble.
Yeah, Mike. If Georgetown gets on a run, they're gonna have to rename Izzo to Ewing.
Okay. How about them coming? How about Georgetown coming up with a statement of support for Patrick Ewing today?
Yeah.
I mean, they have no
Well,
choice. They signed the extension last year. They have no choice. There's nothing they can do about it.
Anyways, I don't know if anybody really cares, but Arizona's won the Pac-12. We have anything to say about this?
I mean, I think ever since probably midway through the season, everyone's kind of been expecting this. I know Chris and I both said that we thought UCLA was overrated going into the season, which they are, but they ended up having a good year. But Arizona's kind of just separate themselves from USC and UCLA throughout the year.
Yeah, I think Arizona is the best team in the Pac-12. They deserve it, but I think UCLA's had problems with injuries. USC, I don't think is that great, but yeah, Arizona's a very good team. They're very high in my rankings. I have a number 6. The pieces really fit together really well, and I don't know if they got Methuen, who's really good, but they've got a bunch of guys you have to worry about. Coloco's pretty good. I mean, it's just
and have them at the right,
it's a really
have them
good
at the
team.
right positions. Have them at the right positions. Tubelis or whatever his name is.
They kind of remind me of Alabama last year. I feel like they're a lock to make the Sweet 16, but I wouldn't be shocked if they lose kind of a little earlier than people think in the tournament.
Yeah, this is my pick to win the championship for sure.
I was gonna say I have to be the favorites right now.
I really first of all, their team fits together really well. But another thing that people neglect is that a lot of times, like this year, maybe a team like I like Kentucky a lot. Maybe a team like Auburn and the SEC. They are getting beat up in the SEC. They have tough games every night. Villanova, same thing. This year, I know they've won in the past, but the Big East wasn't as good as it was this year. And it's the same thing with a lot of these Big Ten teams. And this year in the Big 12, these teams are getting beat up every night. Arizona is in the perfect conference to win the national championship. They get to play some top teams. They play UCLA. They played some good out of conference games. They play some decent teams in the Pac-12, but they also get nights off.
It seems like the ACC would win the national championship every year, and they were the best conference every year. So I mean, it's not necessarily.
Well, no, I mean I'm not saying it's a rule every year, but I think it's a perfect storm for Arizona this year.
I think like last year, the Big Ten was so good and so deep. Like you could say that actually made a really big impact.
Happens every year. The Big
I
Ten and the Big
I
East.
don't know if the Big East this year is going to make a big impact on Villanova in the tournament. I don't think so.
I mean, I think they'll get to the second weekend. They might even get to the Final Four, but the Big Ten and the Big East and the Big 12, this year. Every game is a rock fight.
The Big 12. I'll give you the Big 12. I won't give you any other conference. The SEC has 6 of the worst teams in the power conferences. You have days off in the SEC. You have several days off in the SEC. In the Big 10 and the Big 12, you have no days
There's
off.
no days off
especially
in the Big
12.
East. Aside from Georgetown, there's no days off either. I mean, it's really. I mean, those. I would say all those conferences, and the ACC is
Well-
WCC. So that's why I'm going with Arizona.
Well, what does my conference ranking have to say?
Yeah.
That's the question.
So let's move
Yeah, but
on.
wouldn't-
There are other races. I don't know if you want to comment.
Big
on,
East is 4th in the Jet Pride conference rankings.
I don't know if anybody wants to comment on the other conferences. Duke in the driver's seat in the ACC. Notre Dame still in contention there, but unlikely. Big 12. Baylor and Kansas have the same amount of losses. And what's the other conference we haven't talked about? SEC.
The American.
Auburn, a game up on Kentucky in the SEC with a soft schedule to go. So what did we have to say about these? And also a game up on
And
Tennessee.
Tennessee. Yeah,
And
Tennessee.
really Arkansas,
And
has the same amount of
Arkansas.
losses too. But
Yeah.
what do we have to say about these conferences?
I think the SEC tournament's probably going to be the Big Ten and SEC tournament will probably be the most interesting because I think they have the most top teams along with the most teams on the bubble needing a couple wins. And the Big 12 should be interesting, but I think when it comes to the Big 12, I don't think there's any question marks when it comes. I don't think there are really any teams on the bubble. I mean, TCU and Iowa State could maybe be on the bubble, but I would consider them pretty much
TCU
safely
is
in.
definitely in now.
Yeah, I would consider both of them safely in. But I mean, other than that, I think. I mean, none of these teams play each other, do they? Down the stretch, for like it's
Arkansas
Kansas and
played
Baylor don't.
Tennessee, but that might be.
Kansas, but
might
yeah,
not
but
matter.
it might not matter. Yeah, so none of these teams end up playing each other. So it's unfortunate. Some years it works out. This year it seems like it's not.
Yeah. Just for some of these conferences, I mean, the Big 12, it really matters. And I know Kansas wants it badly, but they've talked about fading. Kansas Jayhawks are fading, Chris.
No, I don't buy that.
No, I buy it. I've been all over the Kansas isn't very good bandwagon all year. There's something ever since we played them in the first game of the year. I just looked at them and I said, listen, this team is not that good. And they got exposed against TCU, played pretty well against Baylor, had a chance to win, but Baylor pulled away at the end. But just I don't trust them at all. Baylor's probably gonna hold on and win that game against Iowa State at home. That'll clinch them the championship. And
Well, Kansas can just win out and they'll win it too.
yeah, they play TCU again.
And Texas.
I don't know. I might like Texas in that game. We'll see what the jet price says. But yeah, Baylor's going to clinch a share, and Kansas could get a share also. But who cares? It's about who wins it. It's about who gets to that 14-4 mark first. And if Baylor gets there first, then they get to claim it. And if Kansas gets, even if they play in the same day, if they have the earlier game and win it, they get to claim it first, and Kansas can't claim it. That's my opinion on that is.
That's a great take.
ACC. I mean, I know we haven't talked about Notre Dame, but I mean, they've kind of come out of nowhere. I know when they lost to Duke at home a couple months ago, we all wrote them off. Okay, they're done. And then they've just rattled off. They're going to go 15-5 or 16-4 in conference play.
You know why they've come out of nowhere?
Because the ACC sucks.
Yeah, exactly.
Because of
Yeah,
Mike Gray.
The SEC, I know a lot of SEC schools take the tournament with more, they treat it with more care. They care about it more. But I got to say, the SEC, the top of the SEC is very good. The bottom is really bad. But yeah, I mean, the SEC might be the most intriguing conference tournament because you got 5 really good teams. And you could say 5 top 15 teams because I have Alabama pretty high in my rankings also. Even though they haven't had a great conference record, they've got some great wins. So it's going to be very intriguing to see.
Yeah, I mean, I think Baylor, Kansas will tie, and Auburn will win. I want to comment on the SEC and just how bad it is. I mean, the fact that Notre Dame, who in my bracketology, which is of course the most official of the bracketologies, Notre Dame is a last four in team right now, and if they lose to Florida State tonight, they will be out of the tournament. The fact that they're in second place is a
Aren't they
complete,
like an 8 seed on Lenardi?
yeah, it's ridiculous. They haven't beaten anybody.
They beat Kentucky.
Yeah, well, that was a Mickey Mouse game. They lost to Duke. That was their only opportunity in conference for me, really. It's really a joke. North Carolina, also in the ACC here, they have one quadrant one win, and it's at Virginia Tech. The fact that North Carolina is in everybody's projected field right now is a joke. They're in my next four out. Miami.
I mean, you win 15 games in a power conference in conference play. I guess they're going to
care.
be 14.
Doesn't
You're
matter.
in.
Doesn't
And
matter.
it's not like they completely shit the bed in the non-conference. I mean, they didn't beat anybody great, but they didn't lose to anybody terrible either.
They haven't
So,
They have not proven that they're a tournament team.
listen, they haven't beaten anybody great, but they don't have many terrible losses. They
Yeah, well,
lost to Pitt.
they have to beat
Pitt's
somebody
a
to
terrible
be in my
loss.
field.
But listen, Michigan at home. That's probably a quad 2 win. So
Yeah, I agree with you that UNC stinks and probably shouldn't be in the tournament. But when you're in the ACC, and how many games have they won? They've won like 23 games, haven't they? 22 games. I mean, they're not going to keep them out at that point.
Yeah, I mean, let's see. North Carolina in the Big Ten would probably win like 6 games. They'd probably win 6 or 7 in the Big East. They'd probably win 6 or 7 in the Big 12. I mean, it's just they're terrible.
well, there's a couple things going for them. First of all, the brand that's going to get them in anyway. Even if they were
Not according to my bracketology, though. They're still in the next 4 out, and there's nothing they can do unless they beat you.
You're not taking the committee too seriously. Then is this what you think is going to happen, or what you?
No, this is
think
what
should
I
happen?
think should happen. The committee should be using my bracket.
But 2 things. One, North Carolina is first of all the brand, and the second thing is, yeah, they may suck, but they have really good players.
They
And
don't.
they suck, but they have really good players. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So they'll put them in just because of that.
And Miami and Wake Forest, I have on the right side of my bubble right now, but those are 2 teams that are, they're iffy as well. And
I'm a big fan of Wake Forest.
I have Wake Forest in as well, but they do have 7 losses in the ACC. If they found a way to lose tonight, they'd be out of my field.
Here's the thing: you get to 20 wins in the ACC or any other major conference. It's hard to
Virginia
beat you out.
Tech is probably going to get to 20 wins. They're not even close.
You say that now, but you just wait.
They're actually Virginia Tech's pretty close, I believe. Like they're next 4 out or something. Like
They're
that.
horrible.
Colorado,
Yeah, but they've
Colorado's
won
gonna
like
get to
9
20
of the
wins.
last 10 games.
It's ridiculous to me that what
They have really good metrics. Virginia Tech has really good metrics.
what I don't
Here's my
understand.
question, Chris. I think I asked you this last week. Are you going to put in some of these mid-major teams that are up? Like, there are a ton of good mid-major teams.
Well, have
this
you
year.
looked at my bracket?
And are you gonna? No. Are you going to put them in? It's like you also rail
Well, yeah,
against
I
the
mean-
major teams.
Yeah, let me pull up my bracket right now, and I'll give you a little rundown. But one thing I do have to complain about with bracketologies is that frankly, they ignore how poorly these teams did in the non-conference, and they look at, oh my God, North Carolina won 14 games in the ACC. They must be in. No,
They didn't do poorly in the non-conference.
They didn't
Poorly
beat
in the
anybody.
non-conference is what Rutgers did, losing to Lafayette.
they
They
didn't beat
didn't do
anybody.
anything. They didn't hurt their resume in the non-conference.
Yeah, well, they didn't help. Hey, here's another one of my takes about the ACC. If you beat Duke, that's a good win. Every other win you have in the ACC is a bad win, and every loss that you have is a bad loss, no
So
matter
if
who you
you-
lose to.
Well, I mean, they don't go by those subjective whatever the heck you say is a bad win is a good win.
Yeah, they
They go
should.
by the quadrant system.
That's fine. And the quadrant system has North Carolina as 1 quadrant 1 win, and it's a Mickey Mouse quadrant 1 win.
How many quad 2 wins do they have?
I don't know. Doesn't matter.
It's quad 1 and quad 2. That's what matters. Quad 1 and quad 2.
They're a joke. All right, yeah, Luke. So asking something about these mid majors, I have San Francisco as my last team in the dance right now, but they could be jumped by Indiana if Indiana is able to win.
Do you have all 4 Mountain West teams in?
Yes, I do. San Diego State is the second to last team in.
Wyoming, tell you what, Wyoming's got to be a little careful here. They're kind of slipping a little bit,
Yeah.
but they're still pretty soundly in.
I have them as a 9. I also have Boise as a 9, and I have Colorado State as an 8. And then as for the WCC, I have St. Mary's as a 7, and San Francisco, like I said, is the last team in.
Is Gonzaga 10?
Gonzaga's a number 1 right now. They are the number 1 overall seed right now.
I'm shocked. I mean, you're the person that would put Gonzaga as like a 7 or 8 seed.
No, I mean, I don't think they should be.
Because the WCC is so bad. Every win's a bad win. So I mean, it's like they haven't won anything.
Well, they only have 1 loss, and it's to a good team. So,
Yeah, but you're judging their entire resume off the non-conference.
yeah, I think they did really well in the non-conference. Arizona would be my number 1 team, but that loss to Colorado is damaging.
Gonzaga had 2 losses in the non-conference, right?
Yeah, they lost to Alabama and Duke. That's fine.
Terrible losses. Because
But
Duke's an ACC team, so that's a bad loss.
well, I do have Duke as a 4 seed right now, which is lower than a lot of people.
Jesus Christ.
Well, here's the thing with Duke. They have 3 abominable losses in the ACC.
Well, they beat Kentucky. They beat who else did they beat? Gonzaga.
I don't ignore bad losses. I just don't. Everybody likes to ignore bad losses.
So-
I don't ignore.
So
bad
Miami's in the field. You have Miami in your field?
I have Miami as my last 4 buys, but they can fall
Okay,
out
it's a
if they
tournament.
lost to
They lost
BC
to a
today.
tournament team at home.
Yeah, they lost at home though. It's an abominable loss. It's like Ohio State.
Well,
it would be like Ohio. It would be like
you're telling me Ohio State losing to Nebraska is worse?
oh, it's
Or it
way
was better?
I moved Ohio State down 3 seed lines after that loss. They went from a 4 to a 7 after that loss.
I moved Ohio State from 12 to 23 in my rankings.
That's about 3 seed lines. That's about 12 spots.
Yeah, and
Good point, actually, yeah.
Wisconsin is in position to move up to a 1 seed if Auburn loses tonight. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there. But yeah, I mean, the rest of the bracket is not so far off from what everybody else has. I think Luke is on the document right now.
I was, yeah, I'm off of it now. I'm looking at Santa Clara and how good they have been, and the fact that you don't have them in's ridiculous.
Well, Rothstein said that they're going to be a really tough NIT team.
They're going to win the NIT if they don't put them in.
I have Santa Clara 54th.
And, and upon further consideration, I'm actually going to move Arizona up to the number 1 overall seed. Looking at their resume compared to Gonzaga's, Gonzaga will be the 2. But all
I thought
right,
you were going to say you were going to put Santa Clara in.
let's move on.
Santa Clara's beat St. Mary's, who beat Gonzaga.
Oh, I also
Yeah, does your bracket take transfer property into account?
they do not. I do have SMU in the field as well.
Okay, that's bad.
And my last
That's
4
really
in.
bad.
What?
Yeah, they're in my last 4 in.
I have SMU 59th. I have Santa Clara 5 spots ahead of SMU.
Boy.
I have Davidson at 58.
You have MSMU, Mount St. Mary's?
Well, maybe what are they in the Patriot or
No, they're in the
NEC?
Northeast Conference, yeah.
Well, if the
Well,
NEC becomes a top 11 conference, then I'll put them in my ranking.
I had them as a dark horse in the NEC conference tournament in my preview.
Okay. Let's move on. Pick a game from the previous week and say something about it.
I can't remember if this was in the previous week or not, but this Michigan-Wisconsin game where Juwan Howard assaulted.
We
the
talked about this
assistant
last
coach.
week.
Listen, I'm a man for the law. I
wanna
believe
talk
in the
about it
law.
again?
Nobody's above the law, and I think it's ridiculous that he's even allowed to stay out of jail. To be completely honest with you.
It's a good point. If I went down to the Y and started punching people, I'd be in jail right now. Yeah, I want to talk about one of Chris's teams that he loves, Oregon. What a disappointment it's been for Oregon this year.
Well,
Really
Oregon's
disappointing.
currently in my last 4 buys.
No way you have them in the
Yeah.
tournament.
They have good wins. They have really good wins.
Yeah, but they've lost 7 games in one of the worst conferences. Actually, I have the Pac-12 ahead of the ACC slightly, but they're not much better. So, and they have some brutal non-conference games. Who they lose to? Well, they lost to BYU by 31.
I can
Um,
respect a team that can beat anybody and lose to anybody. It's the same situation as Rutgers. It's the same, really similar team.
Well,
They're both of my last 4 buys.
Rutgers would beat Oregon if they played.
No, that would be the Jacob Young revenge game.
They lost to Houston by almost 30. Lost to St. Mary's by 12.
Fine.
Lost to Arizona State twice.
That's bad.
That's really bad.
Well, actually, Arizona State is in the bubble for Bill Walton.
I got to give Arizona State some credit. They've kind of turned it around a little bit. Hurley saved his job this year for like the 5th straight year. It seems like they always, well, there was a stretch where they made the tournament every year as like a 10 seed. And now the last couple of years,
That's a really tough job.
that's ridiculous.
It
I'm
is.
sure.
Especially when you have
That doesn't
sanctions
even
on
make
you.
any sense.
The facilities are a joke.
I can't talk about the facilities, but
They
The job
have,
should-
like,
the
the
job
worst
shouldn't be
facilities in
hard.
all of Power 6.
the job shouldn't be hard. You're basically in Phoenix. It should be a better job in Arizona, to be honest with you.
No,
If it's not for history, take history out of the equation, and Arizona State's probably better because it's a better location than Arizona.
okay. I want to talk about Kentucky and Arkansas. Really, because I think Arkansas is a Final Four caliber team. I think the top 4 teams in the SEC are all.
Jesus, you're handing out the Final Four caliber team like freaking birth control. How many teams are Final Four caliber teams to you?
There's like 12.
Jesus.
Well, what? You want me to say 4? There are 4 Final Four caliber teams.
Well, just because
in
you're
theory, only 4 teams can
you
make
don't
the
have to
Final
be
Four.
you don't have to be a Final Four caliber team to make the Final Four.
No,
You can luck your way into one, like Loyola Chicago. Like they weren't a
UCLA.
Final Four caliber team, but 12 teams.
Yeah. I think
Alright.
Arkansas, Tennessee, Auburn, and Kentucky are all Final Four caliber teams. I love the way Arkansas is playing. JD Notte should be in the conversation for National Player of the Year. He should win the SEC Player of the Year over Oscar Tshiebwe. The way he has put this team on his back is really impressive. They've picked it up on the defensive end. It's a really tough place to play. I just really like what Arkansas is doing.
Can I actually, on a serious note, talk about for my game? I want to talk about the Big South tournament because I think it
No,
could
we're
be one
about
of
to
the
pick.
best
We're about to pick conference tournaments.
Oh, okay, then I'll wait.
All right. We'll go down the line here. We're going to pick all the conference tournaments that will end by next Wednesday. And then we'll pick the rest of them next week. So we'll start with the
Where
eight.
do you have Longwood?
What?
It
Longwood?
was a 15. Yeah,
15,
it was a
yeah.
15. Okay.
Okay, A-Sun.
This one was interesting because Liberty is the best team by far, and they have the best. I mean, they have the most resources, and they should win the tournament. That's what I'm going to pick. But there's some. FGCU has some good players. Bellarmine's had another good season, 2nd straight year after being called up, or not called up, but brought up from Division II. Jacksonville State's had a surprisingly good year. And Lipscomb is a team that they're led by a center. I forget his name, but
Lipscomb
he-
is 6
he's
and
done.
10 in conference.
I know, but he dominated North Florida and he scores about 16 points a game.
North Florida
But, I mean-
7 and 9, and they're 11 and 20.
Yeah, but everyone in the A-Sun sucks. That's the thing. But I'm gonna go with Liberty. But I think Bellarmine could be a threat. Liberty probably has the toughest road to the championship game.
Shout out to the Jacksonville University Dolphins. My crazy uncle went there for a semester. That's a fun fact for you. So I'm gonna have to pick them. Jacksonville.
All right. I'm gonna pick Jacksonville State. Best record in the
They
league.
suck.
They've already handled Liberty on the road at Liberty. I like
Yeah,
Jacksonville.
but Liberty has the best player in the conference.
And the best coach.
No, I'm taking Jacksonville State. All right. Big South.
All right, this is the one I want. This is the one I want to talk about because I think Winthrop v. Longwood could be one of the best conference championship games of the season. Longwood has 4 guys that score over 10 points a game, and they have the best offense and the top 3 defense in the conference, and they shoot 37% from 3. Then you also have Winthrop, who also shoots 37% from 3, but they have the best 1-2 punch in the conference with 2 guys who score over 15 points per game. So I think I picked Longwood. I'm going to stick with Longwood because they're the most well-rounded team, but this is a good conference.
Yeah. Seems like. So how does this tournament work? Is it the South teams play each other and then play them, or is it all just together?
What?
I don't know.
Is there's a Big 12, Big South North and a Big South South. Do the South teams play each other and then the
Yes.
North teams play each other? All right.
Yes, South North.
I'll go with Winthrop because they'll be more battle tested.
I'm gonna go with Winthrop. I mean, the record in conference is much different. I'm looking at what these teams did out of conference. Winthrop won at Washington, who is actually a half decent team. They stayed competitive with Washington State, Vanderbilt, Mississippi State. I mean, Longwood lost to Georgetown. That's the deciding factor for me. I'm going with Winthrop.
Yeah, but Longwood beat Winthrop earlier in the year.
That's all right. They're gonna lose this time. All right, the CAA.
Let me see. Look at the bracket. Is it out yet? Yeah, it is. Towson's the number 1. Is George Mason on the CAA? No, they're not.
They're in the
Are they?
A10.
Oh, that's right. Okay. I'm gonna stick with Towson.
It's been a really good year for Towson. I don't know, when was the last time Towson's really been in the
Jewish
conversation?
Jordan.
Yeah, that's a good point. No, I'm gonna go with Towson because I can't take UNC Wilmington because Kevin Keats was the coach there. So
I'm gonna take Towson as well. Horizon.
Horizon.
this might be the best conference tournament of all.
This is an easy pick for Mike.
That's exactly what I said in my review, Mike.
I actually did read your review of
Yeah,
the Horizon League.
Yeah, Cleveland State has had a surprising season. They're usually not a great team, but
Well, didn't they win it last year?
they might have. But historically, I remember Ohio State would play them every year, and they'd win like 3 games a year. But I like Northern Kentucky a lot to win. I just think they have the best defense and have a good enough offense. So I'm going to pick Northern Kentucky. But when you have Oakland's a really good team, Detroit Mercy have Antoine Davis, who scores 23.7 points per game. Youngstown State had a good year, and they have three guys who average over 12 points per game. So they can always be dangerous. And you have Wright State, who have their backcourt is Tanner Holden with 19.9 points per game, and Grant Basil, who is 18.3 points per game. And we know how conference tournaments goes. You get one or two guys get hot at the right time, and you can win the whole thing. But I'm going to take Northern Kentucky because their defense.
Yeah, I got to give a shout out to Purdue Fort Wayne. Purdue Fort Wayne is one of the tougher jobs in the Horizon League. There have been some good coaches that have coached there and really not done anything. And can't remember the guy's name, but he won the Horizon Coach of the Year. Did a great job there. I'm not going to pick Purdue Fort Wayne. I got to pick Oakland for obvious reasons. Probably the most obvious reason is, if Greg Campy doesn't get to the NCAA tournament with this team, I don't know if he's ever going to get back ever again. This team is really talented. Jamal Cain obviously is a machine. Jalen Moore, we've seen Jalen Moore shoot the hell out of the basketball. So I think Oakland's going to get hot. I know they struggle a little bit in conference
They've been
play.
inconsistent. They've been really inconsistent.
They barely beat IUPUI in the first round. That's not great, but listen, if they can beat Wright State, get hot. You never know.
Wright State beat them both times in the regular season.
Wright State's 4-point favorites on Thursday.
Xavier is in big trouble.
Damn it.
They are reeling.
They're going to be going way down in the Jet Pry. I still had him in the top 25.
Travis Steele needs to be on the hot seat. Okay. I'm going to go with Purdue Fort Wayne. They've won 9 games in a row, and they also ducked Michigan earlier in the year. So I'm going to take them. All right. Missouri Valley.
Who plays in
March
Missouri
Madness.
Valley? Indiana State does.
This will be a one-bid league regardless. Don't let anybody else tell you otherwise.
Well, this is actually, I agree with that. This is another conference tournament. I haven't done my review of it yet. That's going to come out tomorrow. But this is another one that could be really interesting because Loyola Chicago is obviously the best team in the league when it comes to on paper. And Drake's probably right next to him. But UNI ended up winning the regular season conference, sneaking down the last week of the season. And Missouri State had a sneaky good year. I'm gonna go with Missouri State. Yeah.
It's a good pick. Actually, this is the first conference that we've talked about that is actually in the Jet Pry, the Missouri Valley. The Jet Pry has Loyola Chicago as by far the best team in the conference, but that doesn't mean a whole lot in a conference tournament. All it takes is one upset. So I think Loyola Chicago needs this at this point, and they are. I know they're last 4 in territory, next 4 out, first 4 out territory right now. And one loss might put them out. So I think they're going to be extra motivated, and I think they'll find a way. I'll take Loyola.
I'm going to go with Drake. I've been on Drake all season. And I'm not going to get off him now. So take them.
Drake is actually pretty high in the Jet Pry also. They're 57th.
Now let's go to the NEC.
The NEC. Well, this is a 2-team league between Bryant and Wagner. Bryant has 2 guys who average 20 points per game, and they have the best offense in the country, I believe. When it comes to points per game, they're averaging almost 87 points per game. But at the same time, when you play that high tempo style of offense, you never know what can happen in a 1-game knockout. And this is another one. I know I said earlier, what game did I say could be one of the best ones? The Big South maybe, but this is Bryant Wagner is another one that could be a great game. They played the other day, for the #1 seed and Bryant won. Wagner has kind of been the favorite all year, and they've kind of faltered down the stretch. And then another team that could be interesting, like you said earlier, was Mount St. Mary's because they play a slow tempo style of basketball. They slow the game down. And when you do that in a knockout tournament, you can beat anybody. I'm going to have to go with Bryant.
Chris,
Bryant has the top
remember-
scorer in the country. Watch
do you
out for
remember-
him. If they
you
make
remember-
it Peter Kiss 29.6
Do you
points
remember-
per game.
you remember when Peter Kiss was at Rutgers? Because I do. He used to play for Rutgers. He was a role player. Then I guess he transferred to Bryant. Now he's scoring 25 a game.
29.6.
29
Top scorer in the country. Yeah, he's the top scorer in the country.
says 25.1 on ESPN.
Oh, well, the other day he was up at 29.
Whatever. He was. I remember. I must have been 2018. 2018. He was at Rutgers, I think. But yeah, just for that reason, I'm gonna take Bryant.
I'm going to take Brian as well. I don't know if you guys remember last year, they had a heartbreaking loss in the championship game.
They're the best team in Rhode Island this year.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Them and Brown.
they're going to make it happen this year. I'll take them. All right.
They're beating Central Connecticut right now.
Oh, that's a tough game.
Yeah.
They ducked Maine.
The Ohio Valley.
Who's in the Ohio Valley? So I can see the
Murray
standings.
State.
All right. Well, I'm going to take Murray State, but this is another one that could be interesting just because of how good Belmont has been historically. But I'm going to take Murray State. They've run the conference all year. This is one Michigan has to watch out for, Chris, because Belmont gets a bid steal.
Yeah, Murray State would probably be in.
If the bottom of this conference wasn't so bad, I would consider putting the Ohio Valley in the Jet Pry. But it's really bad. The top of the conference is good. Belmont's always good.
Morehead State's had a good year.
Morehead State's had a good year. Morehead State, didn't they make the tournament? Was it last year or the year before? I mean, they're always in the conversation. I think there's going to be a bid steal here. I think Murray State's they're secure right now in the tournament, and I think Belmont knocks them off in the championship. A little bit of an upset, a bid steal.
I think Murray State is going to win because I can't have another team win. Okay, Patriot League. What a great league.
That's not ideal, is it? But it's kind of a 3-team race in the Patriot League. You got Colgate, Navy, and BU. Navy.
I couldn't believe that the favorite. Actually, yeah, I couldn't believe
What?
the favorite was upset last night. Holy Cross.
Oh yeah.
That's really bad.
But
American's terrible.
so is Holy Cross. Colgate, Navy, and BU
Yeah.
are the 3 favorites. I mean, remember Colgate last year gave who'd they give the scare to in the tournament? Can't remember who it was that they almost beat last year in the tournament. Whoever it was, but
I can't remember. Was it Arkansas?
Arkansas. That was
Yeah.
Arkansas. Navy looked like they could be the league favorites early in the year. They have a great offense and defense, and they upset Virginia, but that didn't end up being that big of an upset. I mean, it is a huge upset for a team like Navy, but Virginia didn't end up being that good this year. And BU has Javante McCoy and Sukmail Mathon, who both average over 15 points per game. But I got to go with Colgate. I mean, Colgate, they're hot right now. They have 5 guys who average over 10 points per game. They also have another guy, Oliver Daniels, shoots over 30% from 3. I just don't see anybody beating them.
Yeah, shout out to Lehigh, whose coach is an actual doctor and goes by doctor. Could you imagine if you're a coach, you're a doctor, and you make your players call you doctor instead of coach? I mean, that'd be a little egotistical, but no,
What is he a doctor in? Is he a doctor in medicine?
no, it's like
Or is he like, so he's like doctor in Bombay?
he's it was like public relations. Or I don't know. It was something weird. I looked it up because it was weird just seeing an actual doctor as a coach. But yeah, I got to go with Colgate here.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna pick Holy Cross, but they were upset last night, obviously. So I'm gonna also take Colgate. They seem to have run away with the league regular season championship, and they're gonna win the tournament. All right, the SoCon. It has been good in the past, not so much this year.
Really good. It used to be, they had 4 really good teams a couple years ago.
Not so much this year. So who do you guys got here?
Well, the favorite is Chattanooga, and I would probably have to agree with that. But Furman is always also a good team. I remember a few years ago when it was UNC Greensboro, Furman, Wofford all going for the Wofford made a little run in the tournament too.
Tennessee,
We're all
too.
going for Yep. We're all going for the that one bid, but I'm gonna have to go with Chattanooga.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you remember my tradition, but I used to take Coach Mike Jones when he was the head coach at Radford every year because Radford was always near the top. And of course, Mike Jones. He's now the coach at UNC Greensboro.
Oh, is he
Uh,
actually?
Yeah, I mean, I could
Good for
continue
him.
the tradition, but Furman had some really good wins early in the year. I think Furman's going to win it.
I mean, I'd be surprised if Chattanooga didn't win the league. They've been talked about all year as a team that's really high in all the metrics and everything like that, even though they're in this terrible conference. They already beat Furman on the road. I have a tough time seeing them losing in this tournament. All right, the Summit League.
Ooh,
Well, this one's ended up kind of being, if I remember correctly, it's ended up being kind of a 2-team race at the end between in conference it didn't be, but between San Diego State and
This is a one-team race.
South Dakota State and North Dakota State have been the 2 best teams. I'm going to go with South Dakota State. Well,
Yeah,
I
it's-
will say though, watch out for Oral Roberts, is another dark horse. Once his face is back this year, and you only need one guy to get hot.
yeah.
Max A. Smith.
Yeah, the Summit League is it's kind of been South Dakota State's to lose. It seems like North Dakota State's won it a couple times, but that when South Dakota State had the dominator, but it's been a historic season for South Dakota State this year. I think Oral Roberts will upset North Dakota State. They'll get to the championship and they'll give South Dakota State a run, but South Dakota State will win.
I'm going to take Oral Roberts. South Dakota State, I remember when the Dominator was there, the Dominator would always choke in the championship game. And, I'm going
Didn't they make it 3 out of his 5 years?
Oh, it wasn't good enough. They're going to choke again. Oral Roberts is going to win.
That's someone Alex used to love was the dominator.
Yeah.
They
Okay,
have
we have
7
two left.
guys who play 20 minutes or more.
We have 2 left. Let's go to the Sun Belt.
The Sun Belt, Fun Belt. Where's the Sun Belt? That's not. Why is that? I'm on crack or something. Let's see if I can pull it up. It's literally. Oh, there it is. Oh god, I haven't even looked at this. I mean, they seem to always have a different team representing them every year. I mean, Georgia State a while back, Texas State always is. Usually, historically, is good. App State, Little Rock had that one year when they pulled a big upset. Texas Arlington last year, I think. Troy, but I mean, this is you must have this team as a 16 seed, Chris, right? I mean, this.
Let's see. 14.
All right, I'm going with Texas State.
Yeah, I feel like the SEC or not the SEC.
Am I,
I feel
why,
like
why are the standings on ESPN? Oh, this is women's basketball. I was gonna say, what the hell is going on? Here it is. Yeah, okay. I'm going with Texas State. I was looking on ESPN and then on my computer, and they had two different standings. The Sun Belt's literally not on this thing. That's funny.
I was gonna say, the Sun Belt seems like it's always the most unpredictable conference every year. You never know who's going to be at the top. And to be honest with you, when I look at the Sun Belt, I don't see a team that's like, oh, that team usually makes it. That team's always a
No,
team you
yeah,
look
that's what I
for.
was just saying. I think I remember half the conference being in at some point.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I could roll with my guy Jack Hoiberg and UT Arlington, but
Yeah, they got a good team.
I'm gonna go with Texas State. I mean, I don't really know a whole lot about any of these teams, so
Georgia State is red hot. They've won like 7 in a row. I'm going to take them. All right, last one is the West Coast Conference.
I will say I want to give credit to the West Coast Conference for having a great bracket. I think more conferences need to go to a bracket. I'm not even joking. They go to a bracket like that when you're a small one, big league. It is imperative that you get your best team into the conference, into the tournament, just because it gives you the best chance to win and it gives you the most amount of money.
well, Luke, some conferences believe the NIT means more. That's why they want their
Wow.
top seed to lose.
That's ridiculous.
Because if their top
unless
seed
it pays out
loses,
more money.
if their top seed loses, then they get an NIT team and an NCAA tournament team.
I guess that's true, but I don't think you get more money.
You probably get a little more money. I don't know. Maybe.
I'm gonna go with Gonzaga.
Rod,
Yeah, I mean,
Indiana's in gag mode right now.
yeah. Well, the model looked at that game and actually the model thought Rutgers was favored.
The model's been talking about how great Indiana is all season. If they lose this game, they're done.
You know what does-
No.
You know what does?
Indiana.
You know what does? Do you know what does concern me about Gonzaga though? Is Drew Timmy seems like such a front runner. Every time I watch him play, Drew Timmy's a front runner. And every time it's going good, he's got everything going. And then like this St. Mary's game, it started going bad. It seemed like he just couldn't do anything.
Chris, but by the way, I have Indiana 50th and I have Rutgers 28th. That's why Rutgers is favored by 1, I believe. But yeah, I mean, usually you look at this conference and you think, oh, this is going to be the year St. Mary's upsets Gonzaga in the championship game. But I don't think it matters that much. I mean, there's, of course, BYU and San Francisco still something to play for.
Santa Clara has to win.
Santa Clara has to win it to get in. But I don't see them doing it. I think Gonzaga or St. Mary's will win. Probably Gonzaga.
Yeah, I'm going to take Gonzaga. All right. Anything else before we are done here?
Yeah, fire Izzo.
All right, that's going to do it for this week's edition of the Big Four podcast. We'll be back next week to recap a bunch of games and look ahead to some of the Power Conference tournaments and the Selection Sunday. Thank you for listening.